Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of The Infinite Pathway.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Tom Workman.
And I'm AJ Kavanagh. We're Intuitive Channels speaking from Source. We're so delighted to have you all with us today.
We have a great episode. If you've one of the questions we get more than anything else is around spiritual guidance and around spirit guides. And so many times when the guides are speaking to a group, someone in the group will ask, who are my spirit guides? So we know that it's an issue that many people aren't sure about and don't understand. And the guides, as usual, answer all of our questions for us.
They certainly do. And you know, every month we have a wonderful online channel called Live with the Guides. And if you stick around to the end of the episode today, we'll give you a special coupon to come and attend Live with the Guides online this next coming month on March 9th, I believe, as our guest. So stick around for that. It's worth waiting till the end. But of course, we'll be having our Q&A discussion as well as watching this episode of The Infinite Pathway, Never Alone, Realizing Your Spiritual Support.
Yep, we're excited to be able to bring this to you. So we're looking forward to having you. Hey, as always, please jump into the chat, introduce yourself. Let us know where you're calling, where you're watching from, and certainly please feel free to share any comments or questions or thoughts. We love to interact with you. But the whole point of our having this watch party is that we get to watch with you.
Yes.
And we get to talk with you while we're watching. I don't know if you're one of those people. I am, unfortunately. Whenever you take me to the movies, I talk with all my friends throughout. So you have permission to do that here.
Certainly.
And I know there are times you just want to listen, and we appreciate that, but certainly feel free to share comments and questions. When the episode's over, we're especially interested in hearing from you and answering any questions you may have or reading your comments or whatever. We'll be sharing them on screen as they come up. So please feel free to join in on the chat.
Yep, absolutely. And boy, do we need our spiritual support more than ever from all of our guardian angels and guides that surround us all the time. And as usual, the guides have some unique insights for us, as well as some daily practices. So I think it's time we get into it.
Let's jump in.
Okay, great. Here we go.
Thomas Workman and AJ Kavanagh are intuitive channels who have a remarkable ability to speak for a spiritual collective they call the Guides. They are unique in that they channel the guides together, sharing one mind as they deliver messages. The primary interest of the guides is helping us all live consistently in the state of joy, accomplished through a set of simple practices they call the infinite pathway. The infinite pathway, journey to self-realization.
We remind you that you are never alone. You often view your journeys as solitary ones, your issues as solitary issues, your wellness as a solitary concern. And we remind you that as you are a collective on the planet, there are a huge number of guides, loved ones, elementals around you that support you, that you may develop a relationship with, that you may call upon at any time, not just in the times of crisis or doubt.
Hello, I'm Thomas Workman.
And I'm AJ Kavanagh. Welcome to the Infinite Pathway, Journey to Self-Realization.
AJ and I are talking through the messages that we've received from the guides over the years to help us live lives of consistent joy.
And in this episode, we're talking
The guides.
The guides.
Versus the guide.
the guides.
Uh,
Yeah, well, we should kind of clarify this just a little bit. We should clarify this just a little bit. We had a little technical hiccup, so we're going to go back to the beginning so you don't miss a beat. Okay, one moment.
Messages that we've received from the guides over the years to help us live lives of consistent joy.
And in this episode, we're talking about how Source supports us along our infinite pathway with a multitude of spirit guides.
Now, as the guides just said, we never have to walk our spiritual journey alone. And we're seeing more and more people wanting to connect to their spirit guides during this time, more than ever before.
Yes, and we get more questions about people's spirit guides than anything else.
Well, the guides get more questions about people's spirit guides than anything else. I mean,
The guides of the guides.
the guides,
The guides.
versus the guide.
The guides.
Uh,
Yeah, well, we should kind of clarify this just a little bit because it does get confusing at times. The universe really is made up of different realms of all kinds of celestial, angelic, interdimensional, interplanetary, ancestral, and earthbound beings. The truth is that humans are not the only entities in the universe who share divine source energy.
Which is, in one sense, what the guides mean by our not being alone.
There we go. Now, some of these beings have a wisdom, consciousness, and perspective that is far beyond our own, and they wish to share their wisdom with all of humanity for the advancement of our species, as well as the entire universe.
Much like the collective that we call the guides,
Yes,
who want us to better understand the principles of the universe.
yes. And yet, we know from what the guides have told us that each individual soul has spiritual support from a number of spirit guides, including angels, ascended masters, intergalactic beings, ancestors, nature spirits, who all interact with each of us personally. Now, some for a specific season in our lives, and others for our entire lifetime.
And this is the group of spirits that we want to talk about today.
Absolutely. These entities are not different from the collective of beings here to guide all of us through the channels like myself and Tom, and a growing number of other people that are emerging right now as channels.
But even we have guides who AJ and I have relationships with and rely on for support in our own individual lives.
Here's a bit more about these beings, their role, and our open invitation to bring them into our lives.
We would ask one more thing of you, and that is to recognize that you are never alone in all of this. There is great assistance for you on many, many levels throughout the universe, that you are never left to yourself, that there are spiritual entities that can guide you and, most importantly, can comfort you and can assist you when you simply call, when you simply ask. So we encourage you to trust your guides, to ask out to all of the universe, and to allow what will be given to you to encourage you, to help you, strengthen you, and to enable you to find a new perspective and a new vibration. Well, sign me up.
Yeah, me too. So let's learn about these spiritual entities that are here to help us and encourage and strengthen us. But some of what the guides have said about the spiritual support we receive from these guides and the kind of relationship they wish to have with us may surprise you.
So if you're one of the many people these days wanting to get a better understanding of the spiritual support and guidance around you, then this episode is for you.
Now, we're going to do something a little different in this episode and present the most common questions people ask about their spirit guides and the answers the guides, capital T, capital G, have provided over the years.
And this should be fun.
Well, we're having some fun for sure. It's a great place to start because many people feel that the idea of having relationships with spiritual entities is a little frightening and, frankly, much too serious.
Yes. So if anything, we hope this episode helps us all lighten up about these incredible friends who love us beyond words and truly rejoice in our greatest and highest good. Here's how the guides explain it. They are always saying to you that you are loved and that you are precious. We remind you of this, for it is your inclination at times to look to the critical nature, what is missing or what is absent for you, and they are whispering in your ear far more often about what is good and what is full and what is complete and what is a heart that is open and pure. We would encourage you to trust and believe and to celebrate and to enable and to allow. Imagine spending time in your quiet time or in any of your time simply reflecting on the beauty and the light that lives within. Many times you come to your guides with a need basis, with a determination that there is something they must fix. They are not there to fix a thing. Now, I hope you all heard that. We coach a lot of people who truly think their spirit guides are there to point out their greatest weaknesses or failures, even when the opposite is true. No wonder we don't want to spend time with them. See, our guides would like us to see our strengths and our opportunities.
You know, that sure is a great relief.
Yeah.
Source knows we don't need another critic in our lives, and most of us are already well aware of our faults and flaws.
That's right. They really do want to celebrate with us about who we are as eternal souls.
Okay, so are you ready for the first question?
I am. And here's one of the questions we hear all the time. Who are my guides?
You know, it's amazing how little most people know about the angelic and multidimensional realms, the intergalactic realm, the earthbound spirits that are all around us.
Yeah, that's right. As the guide said earlier, there are multitudes of non-physical entities supporting us, many of which we've never even heard of. It's sad to me that because of the many paranormal shows on television, We know more about negative energies and demons and angry ghosts than we do about the many divine energies that surround us every day.
Right. Well, let's talk about what the guides have told us about spirit guides, because they bring them up often. One of the first things the guides have told us is that you may have different guides for different spiritual needs in your life. Let's let them explain.
You always have guides present, yet you have different guides for different needs. For there are times when you are in need of a perspective from a guide from a certain realm, and other times you need a different guide. And there is always guidance for you, but not always the same, always aligned perfectly with your position in your expansion.
Now, I know we can both relate to this. During a very difficult time in my life, I had multiple interactions with a joy guide who always introduced herself by saying, with a giggle, "You may call me Mirth, for that is not my name." Anyway, she and several of my guides really helped me because I sure needed some joy to get me through that.
Joy. Here's a recording of that very channeling.
We bring you guides who giggle today, for this is what we ask for you to embrace the joy that is available to you. Reminder that you have guides who are there just for your joy, guides you can call on, who are there when you need them, when it is difficult for you to find the joy in a situation. And this is why we have come to be with you today, for there will be things that are not feeling very much like they produce giggles, and yet there are giggles to be had, there is joy to be had, there is beauty to find.
Makes me want to cry tears of joy and gratitude every time I think of that spirit.
I know. I also remember in 2022 when I traveled to the pyramids and the ancient temples in Egypt to be a part of spiritual work led by Matthias de Stefano. And I was aware of an intergalactic blue being who traveled with me and guided me the entire time I was there on this sacred journey.
Yes. Like the guides have said, each spiritual entity brings with them unique perspectives that match your need at the moment, whether you're aware of that need or not. For example, when I committed to develop and fully apply my abilities as a channel, I had a unique encounter with Katumi, an ascended master who keeps the golden ray of wisdom and theosophy to teach me about these gifts. I had no idea who he was and had to research him since he was one of the very few guides who actually gave me his name.
People also think that the ancestors that come to them are those they know, like a beloved grandmother or uncle. And many are surprised to learn that their spirit guide is a relative from many generations in the past. Now, we could tell stories like this for hours, but the big lesson here for us, though, is that you may need to think past your list of the usual suspects.
Right. Angels when you need faith and hope, ascended masters when you need wisdom, intergalactic or interdimensional beings when you need a broader perspective. You get the point.
The guides tell us often, however, that your spirit guides will always present themselves in ways that are most familiar to you and that match your spiritual upbringing. Let's listen to them discuss this.
3 secrets we will share with all of you about your guidance from spirit. The first is that the source of all, that is in all of us, that is all of us, your guides as well as yourselves, will always appear to you in whatever form is needed For some of you have a background of a religion, whether it be Buddhism or Christianity, and your guides shall appear to you in ways that are most comfortable to you. You never need fear this, for they already know how you can best take them in. So if you feel as comfortable with angels, they shall appear to you as angels. If you are comfortable with the extraterrestrial beings, they shall appear to you in that way. If you are comfortable with Buddha or with any of the Hindu gods, they shall appear to you in this way. They are simply taking on an avatar that enables you to be as close to them as possible. And that is the first secret. You must realize that they are light. They are ultimately light, but they shall communicate with you in whatever ways are most comfortable to you. And they shall never scare you.
I love that. But the point is not that these guides are in the ethereal realm saying, oh, this guy's a Christian, better send Jesus, a saint, or an angel.
Right. But the energies may feel angelic
Yes.
because it's more familiar to you. Let's let the guides explain this better.
Or you must think of all of us as avatars, as energies more pliable and able to present ourselves to you in ways that are pleasing to you, in ways that are not frightening to you, in ways that are most helpful to you, based upon your beliefs, based upon your cultural upbringing, based upon those things that you are familiar with, so that you are able to recognize.
You know, the ascended masters who once lived on Earth came from a wide range of religious backgrounds. So there's likely an ascended master who has lived the same religious traditions that you're living now. But this doesn't mean that feeling the presence of Kuan Yin conflicts with your beliefs if you've lived all your life as a Christian.
Yes. It's interesting you mention religious backgrounds because often our own spiritual traditions, beliefs, and practices can sometimes block you from receiving guidance from the vast realm of spiritual beings that have the various perspective you need to move forward in your life. Now, don't let your beliefs prevent you from calling in the assistance of, say, an extraterrestrial to help you understand oneness, or an animal spirit like the bear to help you with protection. Let's listen as the guides talk more about this. We are speaking here of an alignment to source, to simply align yourself to the totality of all that is. Let us examine some of the premises that we often cannot communicate with our guides, or that we are somehow separate from. We wish for you to understand that everything is available for you. It is simply a matter of your letting go of your beliefs and allowing, for you cannot receive something which is being given to you if your hand is full or you are not ready to open your clenched fist. This is where your beliefs and your ideologies become so important for you at this time, and to abandon preconceived notions of divinity and the higher realms as being somehow separate from you, or you having to conduct ceremony rituals or somehow become of status or worth to commune with us.
Now, the guides mentioned telling us 3 secrets, so we should probably talk about the other 2.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the second secret is about how to recognize your guides by the kind of messages they provide. Here's the guides explaining this.
They shall never scare you. They shall never negate anything. And if you feel any of these messages, these are not your guides. These are other imaginations that are easily dismissed. And being close to the light, there are only certain things that they can participate with you in, for they will not share in your negativity. They will not share in your self-criticism. They will not share in those things that are not of the light, for they cannot. They do not know how to do that. They shall remind you, But should you ask them to complain with you, and to understand how bad things are, how cold your ice might be, they will not participate. And it is not because they do not wish to serve you, it is because they cannot. They are of the light, they are only of pure and positive energy. And yet, we would invite you that this is the best opportunity then to fully embrace your guides, who will show you an opposite way of thinking if you simply ask them. When you say, I am in a terrible mood and I am feeling very negative about myself or about others around me, or about the world in which I live, and you ask them to show you a different view, this they will do for you, for it is a great joy and pleasure for them to do that, for this is true service. This is truly the service of the guides, to keep you close to the light. This is what they are here to do.
Well, that's pretty clear. If you feel fear, negativity, or condemnation when interacting with an energy, this is not one of your guides.
Right. This is such an important consideration. But what's the third secret the guides want us to know?
Well, we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Okay.
Are you ready for another question?
Sure.
All right. Here's another question that we hear quite often. What is my spirit guide's name?
Okay, well, here's the short answer. You don't really need it.
But let's let the guides explain. It's not that these entities don't have names and may even share it with you. I personally have an angel who told me his name right away.
And one of my intergalactic guides told me I couldn't pronounce their name, even if I tried. But they at least did try to spell it for me.
The way humans use names is very different from how spiritual entities use their names.
Right again. Our names are directly connected to our identities, and it's one of the primary ways we use them to distinguish ourselves from each other.
Think about a name. We'll show you an example. Do you have one in mind? Now, what comes to your mind? For most of us, it's a face, a physical form, a dominant characteristic. But as the guides gently explain, none of these things are what are important in the service of most of these entities. Let's listen to the guides talk about this.
It is in our minds less important for the naming of things as they occur. In fact, you are hopefully seeing less of an interest, certainly among us and others, to go by a name. Our first impulse was to say, you may name it Fred, but you may name it whatever it is that you wish, as long as it is something that holds its meaning to you. Many of you may not be aware of how names come to be. Many things are named in ways that have no meaning in the spiritual realm, and so we are less interested in how you refer to it, though we know that there is affinity you seek, and we encourage you to find whatever ways in which that affinity can be shown. For example, there are some of us who do not even have a physical sense, and so they appear to Thomas and AJ as colors at best, or many times simply as energies that they can sense. And though they have asked for more, we have reminded them that this is not necessary for them to take in the full appreciation of what exists for them. For we would say, can you feel it, and are you aware of its benefits to you?
You can see how we work vibrationally, which is quite different from the way which many of you know and experience in the 3D realm. So you cannot dress something that is a vibration, just as difficult as it is to name something that is vibration, and yet you are able to perceive it and to recognize its unique characteristics for what it is. And so we ask you to focus on that aspect of knowing when we have this dialogue with you.
You know, we humans love to personify things, which means that we relate to non-human things by identifying human qualities in them. Listen to how people address their pets, and you know exactly what I mean.
That's a great example, Tom. You know, your guides would much rather you identify them vibrationally. Let's listen to the guides discuss this just a little bit more.
It is, for in fact, you are trained as a human to believe your identity is a separate identity from all of creation and all of the universal mind. The reason why your guides are less interested in their names, so they are not hiding them from you. Many do not have names. Many have names that are impossible for you to pronounce. Especially your extraterrestrial friends have names that are difficult for your mouth. We would say to you, though, that the much more important point here is that you are always able to feel into your guides. Thomas and AJ feel us. They can feel the difference between when we are coming to them as the angels, or we are allowing the other ascended masters or extraterrestrials or nature spirits or whoever else. For each of us, though we share a single universal mind, we like to say, wear different shoes.
Notice how the guides just said you could feel the difference between, say, an extraterrestrial and angelic realm, for example, and that this is because of a very good reason. And that's because your guides often speak on behalf of a realm or a collective, if you prefer that word, it makes better sense for you. In other words, your guides may be interacting with you as more than one being.
So, nothing wrong if your guides don't present themselves by name, because they may have a larger perspective they're trying to convey.
And knowing their name is not necessary to have a deep and meaningful relationship with them. The guides gently remind us of this when they say, your relationship, your appreciation, your recognition of their love is all that is needed. And even this is not required, for they have served you long before you were even aware that they existed. Now, we have time for one more question, and that is, how can I improve my connection with the guide?
Well, this will take us into some daily practices that we all can do to strengthen our connection to the spirit world in general.
Well, that takes us to the third point the guides make about our spirit guides, which is your connection to them doesn't require your effort. It simply requires your surrender, as the guides express. You will come to a point very soon where you will feel them next to you, even as you are distracted with other conversations and other events. You will be able to converse with them without words on a regular basis. This is not far from you. This is not far at all.
Okay, our first practice is to spend just a few minutes every day in relaxed silence.
Now, this sounds simple, but a lot of people find it difficult at first. Many of us have only two modes, preoccupied or dead asleep. Now, in this practice, you just give yourself as much time each and every day as possible to sit in silence and try not to accomplish anything at all. Here's the guides talking about this on two separate channelings.
Many of you treat your meditation time, your spiritual time, as work. You go in and you are trying to negotiate with Source. You're trying to show Source your devotion. You're trying to show Source how serious you are, yes. And we would say to you, if you would just sit and be loved, if you would just sit and allow Source to hold you, if you would just sit and allow your guides to attend to you in the silence, is all that you need from the divine, who is there to wrap its arms around you at any moment. And so build this into your practice. So much easier it shall be for you with this practice.
Your spirit guides are speaking with you quite often.
as a matter of fact. And we would ask that you pay closer attention to the signs that they are trying to show you, for they are working specifically to enable you to find some courage and to find some strength in something that is feeling overwhelming to you. And so we would encourage you to spend perhaps a bit more time in conversation with them so that they can reveal to you the ways in which they are sending messages to you. But we also encourage you to watch and to see them before they are around.
A dialogue, yes. It is important to open and establish dialogue. Allow yourself to verbalize and to speak and to hear and listen and verbalize back the answers that come to you.
Now, our second practice is to note how your guides are trying to communicate with you, because it may be different than what you're expecting and will be different from one guide to another.
You know, your journal is a great place to write down what you're feeling and sensing during these daily quiet times. You can even note the contrast of your expectations to their communication, or as the guides like to call it, communion, which simply means the state of blended energies.
In that journal, note the patterns you sense during those times of silence, the colors you see in your mind's eye, the songs you hear, even the images that come to you. These are all ways your guides may be trying to communicate with you. My guides often use music as a way to instruct me, but here's how the guides explain it.
It is the communion with you that gives your spirit guides their greatest joy. And so they simply need for you to adjust your antenna till you feel them. You already know how to recognize them. You simply have not yet convinced yourself that that is them. We ask you to spend time in quiet and to simply allow them, and at times to ask them to speak up, to communicate more directly to you, to make it clearer. Remember that spirit and use your language and will use it when necessary, but will give you symbols, will work within your dreams, will give you colors, will give you impressions, will give you an inner sense of knowing. And this is your spirit, if you wish to say, whispering in your ear. Though it does not need to whisper in your ear, it does not need to sit on your shoulder. It is simply inside and connected through your higher self. And so we encourage you to spend time listening and to perhaps rethink what you have dismissed as certainly couldn't be them, perhaps is them, and is a way in which they wish to communicate.
Well, what a great thought to end the episode on. Now, one last thing. In today's episode, we talked about a few different kinds of spirit guides. Spending time studying the characteristics and nature of these various spirit realms is a great activity. There are lots of great books, videos, oracle cards, and other resources that you can use for learning more about them.
Yes, that's a great reminder, Tom. Thank you. We hope what we've shared from the guides today helps you fully utilize the spiritual support that is freely and unconditionally available to you.
Remember, all your spirit guides are extensions of Source, who adores you unceasingly and is always focused on your greatest and highest good.
As always, we'll leave you with a closing thought from the guides. Until our next episode.
We'll see you then.
The third secret we must remind you is that they speak to the true you. They are talking to the real you, and there are times when you will disbelieve them only because you are not connected to your true self. This too is their greatest gift, for they are showing you constantly who you really are. That is their primary goal. For when their light and your light both shine brightly, the entire universe begins to fill with light. Imagine as each of you drawing close to your guides, help you shine your light more greatly. This is why they exist, for you live in a universe of light.
We are with you, right? With you in your room, in your spaces, as you speak, as you sit and listen to us. We are with you. We are that close in your every moment, in your every intake and outtake of breath. We are there with you. This may be a stunning revelation, but it is there for you to connect and to discover your connection and your communion with us in deep and meaningful ways in which you cannot possibly imagine. And so we say to you, please take these moments for yourself to find us and connect with us. And with this, we are complete and yet never far away.
Coming up in the next episode of The Infinite Pathway. For the latest messages from Thomas, AJ, and the guides, please join them on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, or follow them on Instagram at Speaking From Source. You can also book your personal session with the guides on their website, speakingfromsource.com.
Well,
How about that?
sorry for the technical challenges that just sometimes happens. We just kind of roll with the punches. We're still, that's where we are all in this realm. But I would love to hear what some of you are thinking. I'd love to hear what some of your reactions are to some of what you heard. There's a lot in here. And a lot of it was to us quite surprising because, we realized that there hasn't been a lot of teaching about how to interact with your spirit guides. There are a few books here and there. And so a lot of what the guides shared, we thought was fascinating, and they continue to share. I guess I want to start backwards and say to you, AJ and I often, because we are constantly encountering new guidance and new voices from the guides, are always trying to understand a little bit better. I've spent a lot of years studying angels. AJ studied extraterrestrials. And so we had a lot of that down. I'm an angel card reader, for example. So I knew a lot about that. Now, a point about that is that it's often easy to kind of take your religious background. And I thought for a long time, well, I can only do this with the angels because I'm supposedly, Christian and shouldn't, interact with Buddha or anybody else. And I've since let all that go because it's a universal mind. It's the same light, the same source. So we have been exploring the rest of the realm on two books that I've been reading, and we've both been reading together. One is from Kyle Gray. I always say John Gray. I don't mean to. Kyle Gray, and there's a book called Divine Masters, Ancient Wisdom, where he goes through a number of the Divine Masters and a lot of and really how to interact with them and what those energies are about. And so I would encourage you to perhaps pick up that book if you want to learn more about Ascended Masters and what he calls Divine Masters. I think it's a smart way of doing it. And also, we've been reading a lot about dragons because I have a dragon guide. And I had no idea what that meant. I was like, I don't know what to even think about that. And I've learned an awful lot. Boy, am I grateful for my dragon. I love my dragon, who also has a name I can't pronounce or spell. And so she finally said to me, she feels female to me, she finally said to me, I'm really okay if you just call me Dragon. That's really okay.
Yeah, absolutely. We got an interesting comment here from Imaginary Exoplanet. For me, the sad thing is that I don't get guidance from my guides about what to do to get peace sooner. They should see my suffering of 3 decades. That's a real relevant point. And, what the guides have explained to us is that sometimes through our conditions in life, we get to see things through a unique lens of that condition.
Yep.
And so changing your mindset around things is part of the solution to bring you closer to the answer. And remember, the guides said earlier in the episode, they don't join you in your suffering. And that's a hard thing, because often it's like when we're at our lowest point, then we start to pray and then we call on guidance, rather than having them as a part of our daily practice.
Now, don't misunderstand. They feel your challenge. They feel your hard issues. They feel all of that suffering. But what they're saying is that they can't join in with the suffering, right? The guides have often said to us, and we've even heard it in other places. It's interesting. Sometimes we'll see someone else's channeling and we'll go, "Oh, the guides just said that last week."
Yeah.
Anyway, they'll often say you can't be hungry enough to help the hungry. And that is sort of how your guides approach it, right? You don't want me to be sad with you. You don't want me to be miserable with you. You want me to show you where the light is from your misery. You want me to help you find new perspectives. You know, it's really interesting right now how important this is, because, for example, a lot of us are really angry about what's happening politically. And so our guides are actually not going to share in our anger because they can't. It's just not part of their vibration. So what they can do, and I think what we can ask them to do throughout all of this period, is say, show me the positive. Show me the part that makes me feel protected, that makes me feel safe, that makes me feel cared for, that helps me know that I'm okay despite all this craziness.
And bring me moments of joy throughout it all that I can expand on. You know, there are moments of joy, even with chronic pain or chronic illness, that we have, and to expand your light and to expand those moments. And I love here, you know, Pam, one of our regulars, says, Dragon is a great name.
It is.
And, you know, this is the type of relationship that you can develop with any of the elemental realm. And, you know, Tina says that she also works a lot with dragon energy as well. And it's really interesting, you know, when we first came into channeling together, you know, we had our own little camps, so to speak. But the guides, as we collectively call them, brought in specific realms. And so, you know, it's interesting as you watch these episodes, you'll actually hear the energy and the intonation in our voice change as the energies of the different realms are coming through. Sometimes you can hear very clearly it's extraterrestrial. Sometimes you can hear it's angelic. And we know we get to experience them because, as I said, you know, you can't dress a vibration, let alone give it a name. But, you know, if you have a vibration of frustration or of love, you can feel and experience that, and you can recognize it and, you know, and know it for what it is.
So, you know, I was just looking over because to the side of me are all my decks. And I have a dragon deck that I love. And I also have a book by the same author. And so, again, there's some wonderful sources for you to use and to enjoy. So, what else do you want to talk about? We were fascinated by even this idea about names and naming, and this last point about the true you. Wasn't that fascinating? The guides know you, the real you. What does that mean? Well, you and I know that we spend an awful lot of time. I just came from work. So work for me is, I'm sort of Tom, but I'm sort of sometimes not, because I have to play a role and I have to be a very specific role. And sometimes I'm not all that healthy about my self-view. And so that's not me either. So it's fascinating sometimes that my guides come around me and say, oh, I don't buy that.
Right.
I'm not buying that, buddy.
It's also fascinating, too, in the stories that we tell us about ourselves too, that we're broken or that we'll never come out of our cycles or our conditions.
We're unlucky, we're clumsy, we're terrible, we're
or I'll never find love. Can't I have a guide, Cupid, come around me and bring me that, soulmate that I've been requesting? And, one of our good friends who's on today, Tina, actually is a great example of that. She sent that out into the universe, and she met this wonderful guy, and she's getting married in September. And so congratulations to her. But it does happen. It does happen. It may take a little bit of time, but there's a change of mindset. Once, she changed home, she changed her work, and she changed her mindset about things. And that opened up to this person coming into her life, And I think that that's just fascinating. When you stay stuck in your conditions, that you can't be helped or that it's a problem, you remain rigid. And that's what the guides talked about very early. They can't help you if you've got a closed mind or you've got closed fists or closed beliefs about things. I can never receive help. I never get help. Unless you have open hands and open minds. And so, what the guides say, they also said they're with you with every intake and outtake of breath. Mm-hmm. And when I heard that quote, or when, they channeled that, I think through me, I was just gobsmacked. I mean, because sometimes I think that they're far away or I have to call on them, and yet they're present all the time. And so develop that relationship. And that's what we said earlier on as well about your education, learning about the different resources that are out to you. And, there is that book, once again, Divine Masters, Ancient Wisdom by Carl Gray, which is a great read, great little resource. And we very rarely plug other people's work, but that's a great one. So, and the other thing to do is to develop this relationship is to join our online channeling, Live with the Guides. Now, this is something we do every single month, and it's on our events page. You can sign up and register there. It's only $33 to attend. But, we love our family that follow us at Speaking from Source and that tune in on the replays at the Soul Search community. And so we've got a special coupon for you. This is the Wisdom Wednesday, actually. But the special coupon that I'm talking about, let me just bring it up. Join our next Live with the Guides, March 9th. If you can copy and paste that into your browser, it'll take you straight to the checkout page. And you can sign up and register for a big fat zero. You can join as our guest. And you can ask those questions that you might have of the guides directly with them. Because, I can give you some advice, Tom can give you advice, but what's better than hearing it directly from the guides?
I think the other thing I love about this event is that so many people really get to see in real time how much the guides are connected to you and know you.
Yes.
Don't you love that
yes.
That a spiritual entity knows you? I love that. There's a great song that I've always enjoyed called You Know Me. And that's really what that song's about, is how magnificent it is to have the creator of the universe know us individually. But my point is that we often have people say, oh, I was going to ask a question, but you already answered it. And that's because the guides know exactly who is online. They know exactly who's in every circle wherever we ever speak at or channel at. They seem to be able to connect. And so we invoke in your guides, and they come, and they already know what you need to ask. So they're already prompting the channeling to help meet that need for you.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Absolutely. And, if you go over to our events page as well and click on the Live with the Guides session, and you see the $33 amount there, just type in the coupon code LIVE100 and it'll come back to a zero as well. So
LIVE100, go online,
yes.
Go to events, go to the Live with the Guides, type that in, and you're coming free.
Yes. But just to conclude, speaking about knowing how the guides know us so well, I remember very early when I was developing this relationship with Spirit as a teenager. And they would do things like rain appreciation on me. And they would give me unique situations or circumstances where I might find something that I've been looking for a long time. Or I might have incredible synchronicity, like getting the parking space and then going into the store and finding something on sale that I wanted, or someone giving me something like, right out of the blue. And sometimes it happens multiple times in one day. They just rain love and appreciation on you. And so
a number of you may be seeing numbers right now,
Yes.
1111 or
Yes.
101 or any
once
number
again,
of them.
Tina is very good at that.
All
She's
quick
always
messages.
aligning in that respect. And so is a number of other people too. I know Debbie with Zubu Symbols has amazing things happen with her artwork that she does and the synchronicities that she has. And Debbie and I will, and Tom will be in fact appearing at a local fair coming up in a couple of weeks in Peoria, in Arizona here, not Peoria, Illinois, but Peoria, Arizona. So always check into our event page as well and, see what we're up to, because it's never a dull moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 1111.
I see it all the time
that
too.
gateway portal energy.
Isn't that
Absolutely.
great? That's just a little wink, a little I love you.
Yeah,
Isn't that
yeah.
great?
Yeah.
Well, anyway, listen, I really enjoyed having conversation with you. We love that you're here with us. We've got 3 more episodes. And
Just 3, yeah.
3 more watch parties every Thursday at the same time. And so we're looking forward to those with you. It's been great fun for us to revisit the series, and thank you so much for joining us and being a part of our circle.
Yes, absolutely. And you can get notified of those watch parties. Normally the notification is up in a couple of days on our YouTube channel, and you can click that bell button so you get all notifications and subscribe right here at the YouTube link at Speaking from Source. So that you never miss an episode or a new video. We have those everyday wisdoms that we upload as well. There's 2 more coming out in the next, this week and next week, I think, as well. So always something going on. Always a joy to be with you. So thank you so much. Our love to you. We love sharing this time with you and your guides, and we'll see you next time.
Have a great week.
Bye-bye for now.